welcome Russell and Linda Delman. It is an absolute pleasure to have you both here. Let me introduce Linda first of all. She's been an international consultant and educator in the field of psychology, movement, and spirituality for over 30 years. She's, of course, a Feldenkrais teacher and an authorized trainer of the Feldenkrais method. Linda is also the co-founder with Russell of the Embodied Life School. She's deeply influenced by nature, the joy of movement, anthroposophy, and spatial dynamics. And Russell, I've known for a very long time. He is the co-founder of his institute, and he's been teaching embodied awareness since 1975. He's also a Feldenkrais teacher and is a big time into the Zen traditions. I remember when I was working with him, he was such a Zen master. It was very striking. So he's been doing that for a long, long time. And he has studied closely with these masters and developed a deep personal relationship with also Moshe Feldenkrais and Dr. Eugene Geldin, who is the founder of Focusing. So since developing the Embodied Life teachings, he has been guiding retreat seminars and training programs internationally with Linda, and he considers more than 47 years of marriage and raising the daughter as the main teachers in his life. Such a pleasure to have both of you here. How are you all doing today?
Happy to be here. It's beautiful to be on a call that delves so deeply into the human nature, into the beauty of life itself.
Wonderful to see you again.
Yes. We go back a long way. I'm thinking of all the times we spent time together. So the first question I'd like to ask you both is, what do you think is unique in the work that you do, and what is your work exactly?
Well, I'll let him begin as the founder of the school.
What I think is unique, and I will describe what the work is as I describe that, is it's an integration of different ways of knowing, different avenues to wisdom. What we call the wisdom body is an integration of the physical body, what we call the feeling body, how we carry the situations of our life in an energetic way, the cognitive, symbolizing, intuitive, mental body, and the spatial body, or the environment around us. And what is unique is that we value all of these equally, and they all are centered in awareness, embodied awareness, and they each give something that the others don't do. So there are many schools of physical awareness or emotional awareness or mental and psychological thought awareness, cognitive awareness, or even moving through space. But all of those together in one teaching is a little bit unique.
It's really using. We have many gateways to enter into the larger body of what we call awareness, and it's really moving through the body to really enter a kind of wholeness that is beyond the body and within the body. So we're not just centered in the body.
Yeah, it's a kind of transformative discovery that came to both of us. And Moshe Feldenkrais pointed to this, but didn't work on it nearly as much. He might have been going in this direction before he died. It's the realization that you can't discover yourself in yourself. That we need the greater environment, the space around us to be whole. That the human body, the human being, doesn't live separate from the earth, from the atmosphere, from the stars. And that's not just poetic, it's literal. If we didn't have the earth, we wouldn't be sitting here. So it's inaccurate to think of this body as separate from the earth. If we didn't have air feeding these lungs and every cell of our body, we wouldn't be here. So it's literally a Western error to separate the human being from the environment. And we work with that, not theoretically, but through the body into the greater body.
And in the Feldenkrais method and in other somatic traditions, that is also part of it. How you feel yourself in relation to the floor and the changes that take place in terms of your awareness, and then you watch your behavior in relation to another. Because, as you know, I've been trained in these methods and I bring it into my world and into my environment, and you have to. But what is it that you're saying that's different?
So what I'm saying, Siddhartha, it's a great question, is that when we not only feel our bodies in relation to the environment, but actually inseparable, that in moving from here to my kitchen, the space around me is part of my physical movement. It's not that I am here and the space is there. That's true also, but it's incomplete. So it's the sense that we are not only these individual bodies, but we are connected to this greater body, and we can receive information, guidance from the greater body as our physical body becomes permeable. So that we want to have a clear boundary, but we want it to be a permeable boundary.
Well, the acknowledgement that we are formed by the spaces that we're in. Our actions are informed by the space that we're in. And whether a person lives from the body out or receiving from the outside in, and then finding that juxtaposition to be able to be inside and outside at the exact same time, which is more of an ideal, we'd say, to be formed and informed.
So maybe to make it a little less theoretical. So pause for a moment. Maybe anyone watching can close their eyes if that feels comfortable. And sense that you're sitting or standing, whatever position you're in, and sense your connection to the ground. Just the feeling of your body is on this spot, and there are sensations of weight and contact that connect you to this spot. And you have various sensations within the boundary of your body. And now watch what happens when you simply open your attention to the space around your body, up towards the ceiling. Feel what happens as you open your attention to the space to the right of you. Feel from the right side of your body, out, out, out. Left side of your body. The space behind you. Let that space come alive. Space in front of you. And you're still sitting on this spot, and this larger space is part of your awareness of self at this moment. Okay. And let that go for now, and just bring your attention back to listening and connecting here. Notice what happened to your bodily experience by including space in such an intentional way.
Yes, it's very meditative, of course. I'm just again, I work with the bioelectric fields, and I do practice feeling into the space around me. But I think you're pointing at something which is beyond my own personal space, which is much bigger than that.
Yes, that's really helpful.
We really work intensely with the physical space, the ground, because we don't want to encourage spacing out. We want to be grounded and awake. And then we work with the personal space. We think of it as a 360-degree arm's length kind of personal space. And then beyond that space, the larger space. And there's this quality of, as we awaken inside, as we become more and more aware and grounded and spacious inside, we can begin to allow the idea that the earth is a living being, that everything is alive, and that we can receive the life force of what we're around. So we know that's pretty easy with an ocean or a tree, the life force. We can feel that somehow, the old tree hugger idea. But there is something very, very deep in the action. But there's this notion that lives in me that I can receive and have received wisdom when I bring my attention to what appears to be an inanimate thing, a bush, a tree, a bird, a rock, that I can actually listen to it because I'm listening to myself. I'm listening to myself. I'm opening my body, and I'm listening and enlivening everything that this life force reactivates or is activated by its life force. So there becomes a kind of interbeing that is very potent.
Yes, I'm sort of getting it now from my own experience. Let me share something that I do in my practice here, living in the southeast coast of India. I go swimming in the sea, and I pass over these rocks, and I swim back to the sand again, and I lie on the sand, and I feel the earth holding me, and I connect to the earth energy, and then I feel the sunlight coming into my skin and feeling the warmth of that and connecting with that. And I feel the sea air breathing into it. But I do all that. Before I do all that, I do an embodied movement practice lying on the sand. And then I just am lying there quietly and taking these elements. And it's a beautiful part of my day, and it's deeply fulfilling, and it carries me through the rest of the day, because I really feel I've embodied these elements in the way that you're speaking. So I think, is that what you're talking about a little bit?
That's a big part of it, and beautiful. I'm so glad you have those experiences. And I just want to underline that, starting within the body and opening out and feeling so that you have a reference point, you have a ground. But another step that is very powerful and takes time from this is that we can begin to perceive the one here, for me, the one here, for Linda, the one here, for you, the one there, for who's ever listening. We can perceive the one here. I can perceive the Russell being that's sitting here also from the larger space, to enter what we would call a true I that is larger than the physical body, larger than one's historic self-identity. That awareness is bigger than who we think we are. And it's knowable. It's not some abstract philosophy. This is what grows out of the kinds of meditation we work with, is very embodied, but beyond embodied. One can learn to perceive from the outside in. In Zen, it's called turning the light around. It's where normally, and this is, we're not eliminating this, normally we're perceiving from here outward. And we want that, we need that, we want that clarified. This is mindfulness, this is being connected to yourself, being grounded. But that is still limited. When we begin to get enough confidence in I am here, and this is what I'm feeling, and this is what goes on in me, and this is what I'm concerned about in my relationship, and this is my, all of that, we then can also enter this larger space of awareness. And that changes the sense of self in the world.
I think it's that sense of self, that turning the light around, is also an invitation to connect to the larger space, or to connect to the eternal, we could say. And it strengthens that connection for all of us, so that we know we're not all of our thoughts, we know we're not all of our feelings, but we are a multitude inside, and we have many voices, and we can look down almost like from a bird's eye view, without disembodying, but looking and seeing from a bird's, oh, there's the one who's, oh, she's feeling a little sad today. Oh, isn't that interesting? And then we might want to give voice to that part of ourselves that feels a little sad today, and maybe see if that part has anything it would like to say to us. So that it's developing this connection to the I, to the vastness, the eternal, that which is unconditional, we could say. And then seeing the different aspects that live within us, that are part of us, that we want to have a conversation with, but maybe have a shy voice.
Can I try to clarify again? So we acknowledge the human experience, we become embodied within ourselves to include the bioelectric field. And then when we've done that work and we're establishing that somewhat, we can take it into the bigger picture of pure awareness, which includes everything and everybody. And from that viewpoint, we can look back at Siddhartha here, the person that I'm here, and sort of nurture from that pure state of awareness. And with that view, we can transform and grow and develop, because it's outside of, let's face it, Siddhartha can't really fix Siddhartha. But if we could shift to the pure awareness that is omnipresent, and really not in a conceptual way, but to really own it from the experiential way, and to look back and to reflect back, then something special may happen in that context. Am I getting close to it?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautifully said, Siddhartha. What I would want to encourage, and you're also saying this, I just want to underline it, and Linda was saying this so beautifully to my ear, that, there are many traditions, Advaita traditions, oneness traditions, that often like to minimize the valuing of the individual, valuing of the emotional life, valuing of the body as a source of wisdom, that wants to, what is often in spiritual traditions called witnessing, is often a distancing from the humanity of the human being. And we really rail against this, even when the awareness is authentic. We so value what each individual, the gift that each individual has to bring. and value that our stuck places, our emotional habits, our mental are all part of our awakening. And our job isn't to get rid of them, but to clarify and help the energy that's bound in the physical, emotional, mental bodies to be part of the gift that we're bringing. And so without that larger sense of awareness, we tend to make circles with our inner life, returning to the same places and often feeling a little bit stuck in the body or in the mental pattern or in the emotional pattern or the relationship pattern, that we keep having the same argument over and over again, or keep whatever it is, that it's from that larger space. As you said, Siddhartha can't solve Siddhartha in a way, that it's from this larger space. But once we're in touch with that larger space, it's not to get rid of the smaller space. No, this Russell is expressing what he has to bring, which is different than Siddhartha and different than Linda. And we want that from everybody. But if we are only expressing our historic self-identity, then we will also be living in our stuck spaces.
It's I mean, we're way out here in our conversation, but we can also say that it's like the tool for uncovering what is there, because aren't we here to learn? We're here to learn, and when we can listen to those shy places, when we can listen to the voices that are not yet clear, it's like going into a cave where you can't quite, is this gold or is this
fool's gold?
Granite, or is this limestone? What is this? And to delve in, to take the time and uncover, so that it's even easier to be here and there, and more room for love, maybe.
So before we go to the next thing, Siddhartha, I'm going to suggest that we pause, because pausing is a key part of our understanding of human learning. There's so much that we've already touched on, so much that's important, that if we each take a few moments and drop down in our body, again, begin with the ground. It's very reliable to start with, I'm sitting here. And then following the breath into what we call the inner body, inside the throat and chest, the belly, lower belly, the spaces where our brain uses these viscera for feeling information. So we're grounded in the physical body, connecting to, hello in there, how am I right now? What is resonating from what I'm hearing? From the three voices that have been speaking, what in your inner life goes, that feels important? There's a big yes or a big no. I disagree. Oh, I want more of that. Listen to what's alive, not only in your head, but also within your body. Yeah. So you can leave that for a moment. So just thank your inner life that it has all this, whether anything came just now or not. This pausing is like an inner digestion that is essential. Otherwise, we get overloaded and the organism shuts down and loses the gifts that it just received. Thank you.
Yes, the pause is so important. I found myself wanting to ask you another question, but the right thing to do, as you said, was just to pause and reflect and see if I could somehow reference back to an experience within this and see what question would come out of that rather than to rush ahead.
Lovely, yes.
It's also a kind of digestion. we live in worlds these days where we don't have a chance to digest. It's no wonder that there's books written about the gut now, that our worlds are moving faster or slower, depending, but time is certainly different, and there's much to take in. And so but it's not only healthy for the mental life, it's very healthy for the digestive system itself. To pause and to breathe.
Well, when I hear you speak, it's almost like you're speaking some godlike, omnipresent, benevolent force that is actually who we are, that can be a resource to help Siddhartha in this embodied experience in the world.
Yes. And as you know, the essential thing is that it moves beyond theory into people's living experience. And this is what's so paradoxical about embodiment, is that embodiment leads us beyond embodiment and back to embodiment and beyond embodiment and back to, and it's all living together. That the physical body is too small for what lives in human beings. And to ground ourselves in this, to learn to take care of the physical, take care of the feelings and the emotions, take care of the cognitive mental life, and take care of what's in our environment. This allows life to go where it wants to go, which means life wants to become more life. That's the nature of life. Every infant, if they are not treated poorly, and even sometimes if they are, they want to grow. They don't want to stay small. Life wants to move. And our inner life is like that. And every one of us, and we've been doing this a very long time, every one of us has wounds from our past, have stories from our past that can become, for a long time, can become impediments, can become obstacles. But actually, as we bring awareness to them and help them to liberate, it's not that they go away, it's that they no longer control the thoughts, feelings, actions, words of the human being. And they are liberated to be part of, not to be part of a perfect person, but to be part of a living being who is moving forward. And forward movement has the feeling of wanting to take care of life, either by increasing the beauty of it, increasing the love of it,
increasing service to humankind.
That's the natural impulse. The artist wants to do art. The scientist wants to create something that's life-giving. The philosopher wants to increase truth and wisdom. That's our direction when we're not confused. And our confusion runs deep. Thank goodness awareness is just a little bit stronger.
A little bit. Yeah, to come back to the godlike is just sort of rumbling back there in my brain, but not to. I like the awareness, like maybe, or the vast space of intelligence, the I, that each of us, no matter what we're bringing, whether it's all of those things, and every single human being on the planet has a seed of love in their being. And we're growing these seeds, and there are many, many ways to grow these seeds, but it's really not for us. It's how to help humanity move forward to grow love, to grow awareness, to grow compassionate listening, to grow empathy, and to grow health. This is a healthy seed grows upward and outward and downward in deep roots. So it's not for us, it's for really what did the indigenous people, the 7 generations to come, it's helping the evolution of humanity to find and live the light of love.
So you're pointing at the end of the day to love, and that's a big important topic here. And of course, you love each other as husband and wife, and you've been in that love field for a long time. And again, it's an important aspect of the human life. But what is the love, and how is that cultivated that you speak of right now?
Well, for me, my path was really the joy of movement. Really, my path was through finding. Feldenkrais gave me really the ground of my being, to find the journey through the interior, to find the strength, the beauty of neutrality, the ability to act in the way that I could think and feel and act in a continuum of movement, allowed me to really come outward. And meditation gave me the ground and the safety and the quietude and the solitude needed to put more wholeness into life. Mm-hmm. So for me, it all led to, how do I learn to be more loving? And how can I allow someone to love me? How can I love another? And how can I be part through an intelligence in the body and be a receiver of the intelligence outside of the body in a whole, grounded way, to find presence, to love. I think I said that when I was 16 to a few of my friends who were looking at what they wanted to do in the future. And what came from my mouth was, I wanted to learn to love and to be loved and to be in service of love. And at the time, my friends wanted to be biologists and writers, and and it was so interesting to look back on that.
Yeah. So I feel myself moved to, language is so key for our experience, to move words from our heads to permeate our inner life. And I love the word love, and it's confusing. So I want to open it a little bit. I want to suggest a very broad way of thinking about this, because there are, as you said, numerous kinds of love. The Greeks had their four, and the different systems talk about it. But what if we can look at what we're really pointing toward as basic warmth toward life? That it's natural when we are not lost in our pain, fear, or we could say our confusion. It is natural to want life to prosper. It's not some extreme state that comes from years of working on oneself, or it's quite natural when you're not confused and not in a hurry. If you see a child fall, that you help them lift. It's what you want to do. It's not, I'm being a good person now. It's when you're if you're thirsty, if someone's thirsty and you have a lot of water, you want them to drink, unless there's some other situation where you're confused, afraid of them in some way, or it's so natural for warmth to come into the world. For care is another great word, a warm-hearted caring. This is what we mean by love. Now, we can go into the specifics of what it takes for a long-term relationship kind of love, or what it takes for the kind of love we might feel towards the planet or towards nature or towards anything. But stepping way back, what I've come to is this warm-hearted caring for how life is in my environment. How do I take care of it? How do I nurture it? And that is love itself.
Yes, I know for me personally, I have a very caring side, and I love the when the opportunity comes out for me to show that. And even with my work, when I care for somebody with my work, when I have my hands on somebody and I'm showing them something, there's such tenderness and care and satisfaction that I'm helping them and transforming them and showing them something new. And even if I have an opportunity to help a friend in a way that I know be really useful for them, I go out and do that because it gives me pleasure. I really, really enjoy helping people and caring for people. And I think you're right. I think that's the natural way that human beings are when we're not, if the word is too messed up, when we're not too much confused. I think you're right. Our natural state is to be warm and to help people and to care, and just to allow that to emerge. It's as simple as that, perhaps.
Yeah, and one of the things that's so important that I'm glad we're getting to this, Siddhartha, is not to see this as an extraordinary state that is, from years of inner work. Yes, we need to do our inner work because we all have confusions, but also to see the naturalness and the satisfyingness of taking care of life. And when we are confused, which usually means self-absorbed,
right,
and to see that in a moment of true awareness, we feel we are part of life, not apart from life. We feel a beautiful image of it is one body. And, if this finger gets hurt, it's not like I feel like I'm a good person if I take care of it. And and if I am in connection and not confused, and Linda gets hurt, or you get hurt, or that dog gets hurt, there's an impulse for caring. Very simple, very natural, not highfalutin, just the impulse for caring.
I think we also have to look at the other kinds of loves that wouldn't maybe warm-heartedness wouldn't be the first thing, or caring wouldn't be the first thing, but there's still a loving impulse. So I think of many of the wonderful teachers that I've had. Isn't it wonderful that we've learned from others, and it's amazing how a lecture that brings something new to your atmosphere, something new for you to chew on, which helps grow you, might come in a very dry way, but it brings some food that allows more love to happen in your life. So it's I don't want to have this idea that everything is cozy in order to
that's true.
Progress. To love has many ways, and I've received many ways that have grown love within me that weren't so cozy. In fact, we do learn from some of the great difficulties that were teachers for us, but in the long run, we have to have that warm care toward that part that's been hurt or unjustly treated in order to receive the gift that's lying within that.
Which may be what needs to be said here to include that is that when we have this attitude, it must include everything living within. So we have so many voices, so many feelings, so many parts of ourselves that learning, which is an important part of our work, learning how can the I turn this warm light toward the place that gets anxious, and how to be with that place in a way that it feels really heard, as if it's a living child living within you. It can feel really heard, that it's not only there for us to get rid of, but has some of our life energy, some of our wisdom is actually living within our fear, within our hurts. And how do we learn to turn this love, this care, towards the places that something in me says, I hate that? And so from the point of view of this larger I, every thought, every feeling, every sensation is temporary, and every one of them does not get to claim I, but is living within the I. So it's technically inaccurate to say, I am sad. It's more accurate and usually more helpful to say, I am in touch with a sadness living in here. What do you need from me? Dear one, in there, I am with you. So it's not that there's a right vocabulary, but there is an attitude that we can bring our own, it's not even our own, bring this caring impulse toward the pains in our body. Oh, dear one, you're suffering in there. I am with you. Change, it's a game changer for the experience of the human being.
What's coming to me is you're saying direct your attention to this I, which is awareness, which doesn't have the pain, but can feel Siddhartha having the pain, but then there's this other piece, which is so sweet and which is in fact love. And to make a choice to reference things from that position rather than saying, this is me. Well, no, this is part of what's going on, but it's not the whole story. And there's something else there, which is more true and more beautiful and more permanent than this feeling that's coming and going. And so somehow, and the quality behind it is caring and tenderness and loving. And to find that place, naturally it's who we are. It's our birthright. It's what we want to do. We want to save a child if it's falling off a building. We'll just do that automatically. So come to that place, that I, that you call it I, and from there deal with the other stuff without saying this other stuff is me. No, it's there. But really who I am is this caring, loving person.
That's beautiful. Beautiful, Siddhartha. What I would just add to that is this caring, warm, also has clarity. Light has two qualities, warmth and clarity. So we can imagine one of the images, classic images we use a lot for the I or true self or original being or whatever you want to call it, the vast blue sky, infinite blue sky with this warm light. And the light is not only caring, and it's not caring in the, oh, poor baby sense. It's clarity also. It sees, I see that there. I'm not here just to baby you or say everything's going to be fine. I'm here to bring my warmth, caring, kindness, and clarity. So if people only have the warm side, they can get a little too cozy for awareness. And if they only have the clarity, it gets very cold to see clearly if one hasn't developed the kind, warm heart.
And there are different qualities in the body. You can feel the different qualities in the body. And maybe we could do a little standing practice together to underline what that's like. So in standing, we do a lot of standing work, standing practices, because it's to find an authentic, easy, upright stance, to be connected below, often using the images of roots of a tree, going through the floor. Every floor, even an apartment building, comes eventually to the ground, sending our roots down through the earth like big tap roots, going through the layers of the earth. We do a lot of practices in this way, and then we rise up as we do. When we go down, we rise up. The earth herself meets our force with its force, and there's a continual interplay of forces that bring us into this long, upright spine without tension, just a general way. And then we begin to imagine from time to time, once we really have those roots, that there's that opening. If we continue through the head, imagining antennae or ears or ways of receiving the atmosphere from above, like we're receiving from the earth below. And so once we practice this in many different ways, we'll begin to add this tension we've been talking about from the beginning, the inside, the outside. And now we're talking about the warmth and the clarity and the paradox of these two atmospheres. So let's just sense them in the body, and just maybe bring your right foot forward for a moment and make a pointer with your index finger, with your dominant hand, and go ahead and find something in your room that is a little crack, the smallest detail. You really want to find it. Your eyes are focusing, and you're looking beyond your finger to a tiny little detail, And now keep your eyes in that tiny detail, but sense the effort, the work, the condition of the musculature, the stance in the body, how the relationship with the earth is a different thing that's happening here. And slowly let it go. Just let it go. Strong will force, hearty. Good to be able to learn how to focus. But now, with that kind of clarity, we can feel the strength of the body and the strength of the will. But now I want to try the other side of that, which is this warmth. And so we're going to imagine that great vast blue sky that Russell was talking about earlier, or the warm-hearted caring from the eye, from the awareness itself. And we still have our index finger, but now we're going to imagine that it is going to raise our finger in our arm, and we don't know where it's going to be going. We could tie maybe a gold or silver or purple ribbon on the finger, and some being that's really large is beginning to pull our finger, and we stay really open in the body, really open. I don't know. But I'm being pulled. Of course, there's a bit of us doing, but it's more of a receiving. We end up someplace. Is that true? That you can end up someplace and be a part of it, but not really know how you got there? And feel the body in this state. Different way. It's a different way. And then return again. Or maybe you can sense the two states, warmth and clarity, inside and outside. There's so many names we can use. But then we want maybe to find something that's joins the two. Maybe it's a little more ideal. We know we can do both, but can we be in both at the same time? So let's try that same exercise. Let's do that same exercise, wanting to see where we're going and allowing ourselves to be drawn, aiming and being drawn. And go ahead, and the breathing will just be easy. But you're looking, you're seeing, and yet you allow that sense of being drawn, receiving a direction. Do that a couple of times, just combining. I think there's a theological term, not my will, but thy will. So, but we're going to have my will and thy will, including the other. And sense this last time we do it, just sense maybe there's a harmony of the two senses of the body and the fluidity available to the human being. That would be an exercise of building our relationship through the body.
You can think of the forces of intentionality and receptivity. Intentionality and receptivity, being in harmony, not always equal, but that we cultivate in an embodied way When am I being overly intentional? Then I'm using willpower and I'm not really open to the world. When am I kind of losing any sense of self-direction and just kind of wandering? And what's it like to feel the harmonious dance of intentionality and receptivity? These are embodied, these can be felt in embodied ways, as Linda was helping us to sense.
So the joy of being able to sense the body and receive the wisdom to know when we're being completely willful, and to use strength when we need it, and to be receptive when it's interacting with life, and knowing how we are and who we are in it.
It's that great term, co-creation. Co-creation, yet that almost isn't quite right. It's close. The feeling of mutuality is even better.
Responding. And I think, it kind of leads us to gratitude, which is a very current word, but thankfulness of this life, of being alive, so that we can learn and grow these qualities.
What's coming to me now is, thank you for that exercise. It was very, very clear to me about those qualities and how they can come together, and one could be more exaggerated than the other. I really got it on a bodily level. But what's coming to me is that the reason why I could get it so quickly is because I spend so many hours a day practicing embodiment formally, right? And awareness is the key factor here. If I can't be grounded in awareness and have that as a thing that I've cultivated, then to do what you speak of is conceptual, in fact. So the basis, I think when you start off with Feldenkrais, he was pointing at it. He was doing the groundwork there on awareness on a bodily level. So then in his future students, like you two, could progress the work to this more, I use the word spiritual level? I don't know.
We can say spiritual, we can say subtle, we can say transcendent, we can say
yes.
It's all there. But yeah, and important, as you know, Siddhartha, that it's not like a linear progression. We need to keep reinforcing what looks like the beginning, because the beginning is good in the middle and good at the end. So we need to keep encouraging this embodiment, but it's really so exquisite that somebody who's really new at this can immediately affirm. Like if somebody is listening to this and this is new stuff and they go, what are they talking about? This is a little out there. Can you feel your bottom on your seat? That's that rootedness, that ability to have your attention meet your bottom, meet your weight, is really the basis of everything we're doing. And your attention is a power that opens the door to this incredible gift called awareness. Attention is not the same as awareness. It leads to this open state called awareness.
Attention is the key to the door of awareness.
Exactly. And it's the most important movement in the Feldenkrais method. It's the most important movement in somatics, is the movement of attention.
And in meditation.
Because that way we work with attention until we can let go of paying attention and awareness dawns.
And ordinary people like us we have this capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, everyone ordinary young people that have never experienced all that we've developed in our lives, they know the difference between pointing and receiving. They know that in their body. They know what work feels like. And they know what it feels like at some point in their day or their week or their year when the body opens. Maybe it's making love or swimming or eating chocolate. But they know when the body opens, because it does. And they know when the body takes form.
Right. It's so amazing. We have this in us right now.
Yeah.
What we do as guides is help people realize that their wisdom body is already here, that their inner teacher is already here. She or he is needing some guidance to go, oh, that's it.
Remember that.
Right. I felt that as a child, but I didn't name it. I didn't know I could work with that. I didn't know I could grow that. We all know what it feels like to be open and closed. And just from there, we can grow a whole world.
Russell, I'm having a thought when one of the first meetings I had with you in Sonoma State University, when you came in as a guest lecturer to Eleanor and our class. I think it was the psychology of yoga where you visited us. And you were telling us a story about working with children. And you were talking about the Buddha, Siddhartha the Buddha. And you said to the kids, Siddhartha said he was awake. What does that mean? Think about that. Ask your parents about that.
That's right.
About that.
So the next question I have for you two is, are you awake?
Such a joy to meet you and be with you.
We'll leave that as an unknown and unanswered question.
It was answered.
I bow to the Buddha within you.
And you. Bless you. Thank you, Siddhartha.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for a delightful call. It's been so wonderful connecting with you. And I know that I'm going to bring this into my world now and tomorrow and really experiment with this and see if I'm lacking the pause. I'm too fast. I need to slow it down, wait.
Makes all the difference.
Yeah. So thank you for your teachings, and thank you for being present with us.
Beautiful. Bless you. Thank you so much.
Stay well and healthy and whole.